Ready or not, we are live. It's October 23rd, 2025. It's a Thursday. Didn't mean to keep you waiting a little longer than maybe you were used to. Larry Mastropieri, broker, owner of the Mastropieri Group, alongside myself, John Laws of Discover South Florida. And this evening, we are going to be talking about a number of topics, the first of which has to do with ultra-rich homeowners not listing their properties anymore. No. They are now bidding on them. According to this recent report from the marketgrowthreports.com, luxury homes in South Florida aren't just being listed anymore. They're being auctioned the highest bidder because, that's how auctions go. Anyway, it's not because the sellers are desperate. It's because they're smart. It tends to happen with successful property owners. Across Palm Beach, Miami Beach, Boca Raton, and Naples, ultra-wealthy sellers are using auctions to move homes that would normally sit for months. Now, these are properties priced between 1 million and up to 50 million. So these are big time oceanfront estates, penthouses, intracoastal mansions. You get the idea. So how do these auctions actually work? And why are the ultra rich choosing them? And can they really make money this way? What do you think, Larry? Have you been already bidding on some of the ones that I've seen here that's opening for $500,000? It was originally listed for 2.15. So, it's out there if you want it. This is in Palm Beach.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about this. We put this in the list because this has been like popping up on our radar more and more recently, right? So it's kind of a thing. It's becoming more of a thing. And so we dug into this a little bit. Besides just living it, we kind of wanted to look at the data and see what's really happening here. What do the stats actually show? And so we pulled up some of these stats are interesting, right? So the U.S. leads the global luxury real estate auction market with a 38% share and over 10,200 high-end properties sold in 2024, right? Which is pretty interesting. And so let me just share my screen. A little delayed here. Here we go. Sharing the screen. It's happening. All right, here we go. So the expectation is that this trend continues. Right, which is interesting. Global luxury real estate auction market size, 24 to 2033. So, as this is kind of popping up on our radar, it seems like it's going to become more prominent as time goes on, and it's not just for the low end or distressed assets anymore. These are assets that aren't distressed, that people are bringing to market and looking for people buyers to just bid on, which I mean, this strategy makes sense to me.
Why?
It could work. I mean, there's obviously this concern of is it possible that I sell too low, right? You know? So I think in a market where there isn't a ton of this luxury product always. And I still think even though inventory is climbing, we're still in this world where inventory isn't that high and there's sufficient enough demand and buyers floating around out there looking for the right thing. And that this strategy works. I think if we end up in a market where there's this overwhelming amount of supply and demand is pretty low, the auction environment may be less interesting for these sellers, right? I mean, and obviously they set minimums on this stuff usually, right? But I think this creates an environment where it's just like the market will bear very quickly what it's worth, right? That's it's going to tell us. Going to tell us very quickly.
Right. I mean, I guess coming from more of the layman in this conversation, if I'm a luxury homeowner and I want to try to, unload my $2.15 million property in Palm Beach, why do I think this is a better idea to go about it this way? Just because they think the interest is high enough that the auction may go past that original asking price? I mean, I just don't understand why this is happening.
Yeah. Again, I think 3 years ago, it was that totally was a thing, right? It's like, if you put your house on the market, there's so much demand, you might as well auction it, frankly, right? Like 3 years ago, 2020, 2021 down here was chaos. You might as well have just put every property on an auction block, because that's basically what it was anyway.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I remember seeing
Yeah.
the original asking price going over 100%. I mean, by default, I'd picture that.
Yeah. And there's different types of auctions where you can actually see the last bid, some where you can't see the last bid, right? These things are interesting.
So this is
right?
like a silent auction? Is that how it works? You just put down your best offer and
well, in these cases,
it's not eBay.
I haven't actually bid on one of these, but like if you go to like the county auctions, you see where the price is and you decide if you want to bid to the next one. So, but there's other auctions where you don't always see it, or for example, when you were bidding on property to buy in 2021 and it was on the market, you couldn't always see what other people offered. In most cases, you couldn't, right? Mm-hmm. People are submitting offers and you're trying to talk to the agent, and the agent was saying, hey, make your highest and best, and trying to be fair and respectful of everybody's stuff, right? Instead of just putting it out there, right? And sometimes that's not the best situation for the seller, right? Mm-hmm. Because if the other party knew that the other party was $5,000 above, maybe they would have leapfrogged them and put $5,000 above them, right? And so where's the final stopping point? So when you bring property to market and there is sufficient demand for it, and you got two competing parties, having like an obvious, like, hey, this is the last bid price. Do I want to bid past that or not? That's kind of helpful, right? So, yeah. And I think it helps the seller. I think it helps the seller. Now, obviously, there's all these other terms involved in these things, right? Which is interesting. So it's just a very unique thing to do, and it's becoming more and more popular for ultra luxury stuff, which hasn't been a trend. Yeah. So James, or moving to South Florida, just commented, how do you go around appraisals? Well, a lot of times in these luxury auctions, it's like it almost doesn't matter, right? Like they're buying cash. It's who's willing to pay the number for it, right? And that's it. So in some cases it's financed, but in those cases maybe an auction isn't the right deal. Or maybe
ideally, I'd imagine that the seller's minimum price they set is like what they believe's market value. I mean, it's one of those, I guess there's no possibility of them taking a real loss on it. I'm still trying to understand.
Well, if you set a minimum, if you're like, I'm not.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and it seems like I imagine most of them are.
Yeah,
well, 100%. At least actually, it's going to this. I guess 2/3 roughly. It's 64%.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and here's the other thing: the marketing period for these things are similar to an actual marketing period for a home that's for sale, right? Mm-hmm. So, like on the MLS. So, you got 3 to 5 weeks prior to the auction that it's marketed. And if the average days on market or median date, if the average days on market, like for example, right now, the average days on market in most of these cities down here are like 80 days. Maybe these luxury properties are like 100, 200, but the median is much lower than that. And so like 3 to 5 weeks is a good amount of time to be prepared to be on the market and get the right eyeballs. And then the right buyer shows up and bids on the property. And so it's a fair and interesting way to list a property and sell it and be done with it in 60 days or 90 days, 100 days. Right. And that's interesting. And like, just like most of these auctions, you're registering, you're verifying funds, you're submitting a deposit. So this also ensures no bullshit. Right. So like this is how the county auctions work, right? You put a certain amount in deposit in order to even get in the auction to bid. If you don't put the deposit in, you're not bidding on stuff. So you can't just, and if you back out after you win something, you lose your deposit, right?
Yeah.
And you don't get to come back. So like that's not cool. Like you're not going to do that most likely if you're serious. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm looking at some of the notes on the types of sellers that would consider this option. It makes sense with developers looking to liquidate newly built spec homes efficiently. I'm like, all right, well, that makes sense. It's like one way or another, we got to unload this thing. Here we go.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And we still, this is a growing thing. I don't think it's ever going to be the dominant way people buy property, but I could see how this becomes more popular over time. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for example, if you go and pull up that listing at the top, that was linked to one that I think it just went, the auction began, I believe this afternoon or this evening, whatever, the early bids anyway. The original list price was 2.15 million, right? Well, I mean, I feel like, especially, being in Palm Beach County and South Florida in general, I mean, 2.15 isn't as much as it used to be. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, because for something like this, I'm picturing super high-end homes, being on the market where I'm like, man, well, in that range, it's nice, but it's not, the all to end all. What are we looking at here? Was this an ad? I mean, it's
think
nice.
it was.
Okay.
So good. It's
So
right
if you're
here.
checking out Dubai anytime soon, Dubai's nice.
I think this was a South Palm Beach listing. It's the same video. I don't know why they had. Yeah. And so this property's up for auction, which kind of spurred us to be like, hey, let's just talk about this a little bit. Starting bids.
But you said you are seeing more of these.
Yeah, it keeps popping up on our radar. We keep talking to clients about it. More and more, we're having conversations with luxury buyers about, hey, I found this one, looks interesting. How do we do this bid process? And so we help them set it up, and we get involved and we work through it with them. So,
yeah. But do you offer your estimates on what to bid?
Yeah, so we'll run value estimates and so make a decision on, okay, what do we, where do we think we're gonna start at, and what's going to be the limit. And we still do this. Like I just did this the other day with another flipper who buys at auction, and it was like, hey, what's our max bid on this thing? And he was trying to figure it out with me, and I'm like, okay, my max bid on this would be $1 million. So like, if you got it for 900, huge win, great day. If you got it for $1 million, acceptable, do the deal. But maybe it's not this knock it out of the park type win. And so he got it for like in the 9s or something. And we'll be, so he won it, and now we'll go sell it. We'll list it when he's done. So yeah. So we help him with that. And this is interesting. So 31% achieve above appraisal prices through competitive bidding. And so this is what I was getting at. Like, what's another $10,000? What's another $100,000? I want this property. Let's just do it. The last guy. But in a normal situation, it's less of that. It's just like you can't see what the other party's doing. So, or you don't know if it's true. So this is very transparent, which is nice and sometimes helpful for the seller to make a little bit more money.
How does this affect realtors? If it does at all? I mean, you mentioned you've assisted buyers and such, but obviously this is a little more unconventional to what you guys are normally doing in the field. Yeah,
sure. So there's certain auction houses that do this, right? But also we represent but they also compensate agents who represent buyers. So in most cases, and so in these situations, that's not a problem on the buy side. But on the list side, if you go this route, not every realtor can offer this service, right? Because there's certain just auction houses. Yeah. And this is interesting. Buyers, 60% of buyers who are bidding have previous auction experience. Each property attracts 11 registered bidders showing strong demand. 22% of those bidders are international. Agents
that's what I did.
Yeah. So this is interesting. Agents handle 58% of the referrals and co-listings. So most agents are, if somebody wants to do this, this is like an active thing. You can do this, right? So over 5,300 agents partnered with auction houses in 2024. So there's a lot of agents in the country though. So this is interesting. Who's leading the market? The firms behind the shift: Sotheby's Concierge Auctions, operating in Palm Beach and Miami Beach, responsible for record-setting global luxury sales. Platinum Luxury Auctions, Miami, pioneers of non-distressed auctions. And this is what I'm getting at: non-distressed, like non-foreclosure, exclusively on properties over $5 million. Fisher Auctions, Pompano Beach. We've seen them a lot. On different stuff. Florida-based, active since 1972, handling both private and court-appointed luxury sales. So
how does one get into the auction business? I mean, could you suddenly turn your brokerage and be like, you know what, the Mastropieri Group, we're going to start doing auctions with our homes? You know, I mean, is that like, can you do that?
That's a great question, and you know, I don't really, you know, I haven't really considered that, but this is a new thing, and that's why we're talking about it right now. It's quite intriguing. And so there will be more digging into this, and we will report back.
All right. Until then, do we want to talk about the Ritz-Carlton in Pompano?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right. Great. So the latest, if people were wondering, the Ritz-Carlton Residences, Pompano Beach has just reached a major construction milestones, marking it a big step towards completion. The Pompano Beach the Ritz-Carlton Residences is almost complete. It's 205 residences spanning 2 towers and over 35,000 square feet of amenities. The towers bring together 2 waterfront worlds, the one facing the Atlantic and the other overlooking the Intracoastal. So it's the kind of thing you would expect from a brand like Ritz-Carlton. You know, you may also be wondering, it's like, okay, so what? Well, it's the Ritz-Carlton. It's obviously a very high-class luxury brand. And having that kind of brand in Pompano Beach could bring more global recognition and certainly immediate price premiums. Larry, what has been your take on this? I know we've talked about the Ritz-Carlton a few times, but it seems like we're finally getting close to the end here.
Yeah, this is exciting. You and I have talked a lot about just the redevelopment of Pompano Beach, and this is one of many new projects that are very much so luxury focused, right? And this one is unique because the towers are connected by what they call a unified resort program that merges beachside serenity with marina access, something that's rarely available in this area. And so you can kind of see it here, right? You get the marina side, and then you got the beach side. And so location wise, the Ritz-Carlton is south of Atlantic Boulevard, which is the primary street that goes into Pompano. Yeah. And you got a number of things going on here. I mean, we were just in the W the other day. Here it is. It's breaking ground. They're taking this whole thing here, this whole thing. So not to get off track, but you have a lot of projects.
I would have asked you about it because I know you just recently spent some time there. Their presentations and models and everything look really nice.
Yeah. And so all these guys are competing. There's real players here from real backgrounds, as we talked about, like Related, who's been very, very active in Pompano Beach, just like they are in other parts of South Florida. And this one specifically is a 32-story on the ocean side and then a 14-story on the Intracoastal side or the canal side. So, and this here is a neighborhood that's known for being relatively luxurious or higher end. So there's a number of homes in here that are 1960s, 70s, but then there's also homes that are being knocked down and redeveloped in here. And so this is kind of a unique little area here in Pompano Beach. And, the further south you go, the closer you are to Fort Lauderdale. I mean, Fort Lauderdale by the sea is a quick, easy drive. Take it a little further, you're in Fort Lauderdale Beach, right?
Mhm.
So you're right there. So you're kind of when in Pompano, you are very close. You have great access to everything. I mean, whether it's Fort Lauderdale, Miami, head up to West Palm, it's pretty efficient, right? So
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I just can't help myself. You have the two towers. One's 32 stories, the other's 14. Why do you think there's such a difference in size?
I think there's a combination of just parking restrictions, zoning restrictions, possibly due to parking, possibly due to the amount of land they have, right? Because you can't build so much. You have a certain limit of how many units or how many square feet or whatever per acre that you can build. There might be height restrictions too on the intercoastal side that aren't on the ocean side. So I would say it's got to be some version of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I just asked just because there was such a difference in size. I mean, normally I feel like all these things are very symmetrical.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know what else is interesting? So these guys, I mean, at least what they're saying, they're selling for about $18.47 per square foot on average. And so, pretty serious per foot. Let's see if there's more pictures here. Yeah, there you go. I mean, this place is going to be awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here you go. I mean, look at that.
That is really nice.
Yeah. I mean, this is pretty sharp.
They weren't messing around. They said 35,000 square feet of amenities.
And they're expected to finish this soon. Like this is 2026 completion, which is great. And so
pretty fast. I mean, how long have they been at this? Like 2 years, maybe?
Yeah, tops. Yeah. And so we were talking about it when it first was, approved, and now they're, crossing certain thresholds. And don't forget, downtown Pompano Beach has greenlit a $2 billion 75-acre redevelopment featuring mixed-use buildings, retail space, and signature 12-block water feature, right?
Yes.
So they have major projects they're pushing in conjunction with the private projects that we're seeing here. And so the combination of these two should be super interesting for Pompano long term. I think there's reason to believe in Pompano Beach long term. I think the question for most people, if they're moving or thinking about relocating to Pompano Beach, is it's just, do you like this vibe? And how does it compare to Fort Lauderdale, a Miami, anywhere in between, a Boca, a West Palm, right? And you got to just choose what kind of vibe you're feeling, right?
I don't even know if they know what their vibe's going to be in the next 2 years.
Well, I think
it just was, a couple years ago.
And here they were just posting on LinkedIn, which is another reason why we posted this. Well, where we started talking about it. So this is kind of progress. When was this? 1 week ago. So they're rocking and rolling here. I mean, look at this tower, right?
Yeah.
This is cooking. They're cooking. It's kind of interesting. I'm not sure how thrilled the neighbors are that live like right here.
Yeah. That like the shadow right in the morning, like the shadow is going to just kind of hang over the whole thing. You're not going to see the sun until midday.
I'm sure this isn't the greatest thing either, to just look at this empty yard of nothing, but I don't know. At least you got, it's pretty, I don't know, the Ritz-Carlton right next to you. That's kind of, at least it's the Ritz-Carlton. Let's just say that, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I think. And
they're going to stick a marina in there too?
So they call it a marina, but it's just right here. They're just going to dock a bunch of boats, right?
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So how many I think they said how many boats, and I'm sure there's like a lottery. I don't think they're deeding them. So 205 residences, 117 oceanfront, 88 intercoastal. Where's the? Let's see. Yeah, I don't.
Maybe
see
they should auction them.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's move on to our next topic.
All right, we're going on to stalled flood insurance impacting Florida real estate. Now, this pertains to the government shutdown, which has been going on for 3 weeks now. Florida's housing market hit an unexpected wall as the government shutdown is impacting the national flood insurance programs. Put it offline, thousands of home sales in flood zones came to a standstill. So that's not good. Evidently, the National Flood Insurance Program, which insured millions of American homeowners and was essential for mortgages in flood zones, saw its authorization lapse at midnight back on September 30th. So, obviously, as of right now, Congress has not yet reauthorized it, meaning no new policies or renewals can be issued. That's bad. Larry, have you encountered anything like this yet with any of your clients?
So we haven't had this issue. We've had investors who have been working through getting clear title after buying property that had a certificate of title, which basically is basically you buy it and then you work through the title issues. This is an auction type property, right? Purchase, a distressed auction purchase, not like what we were just talking about. And certain HUD products where there was like loans that were HUD related, they can't get, that we're just not closing. We just like, that's it. We're just not doing it. Like we just can't do it. So I don't know, buyer, like, let me know if you want to wait. Like that's kind of the discussion. So this is, we haven't bumped into this just yet, but I'm sure we will. And it's kind of another reason why we brought it up, because it's like, this is a thing. This is like a real problem for people who have this situation. So it doesn't affect all flood insurance policies, right? So it's like we're able to get insurance on, like we've done a lot of deals where there's flood insurance. I'm insuring a bunch of buildings for flood right now, and it's not a problem. So, but it's to your point, like this is a very Florida thing and a very South Florida thing,
right?
For sure. So like, for example, it says Florida has the highest concentration of flood zone properties, and it's among the hardest hit, right?
Yeah.
And there's not many private alternatives.
Well, I was going to say the private flood, insurance. I was just like, oh yeah, because there's so many private insurance carriers here. I thought they all went bye-bye, like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's some have been coming back to the market, but either way, it's like, for example, Citizens wouldn't qualify one of our buildings, and so they were at like whatever $20,000 a year for one of our buildings, and so they wouldn't qualify it, like they wouldn't insure it. And so we said, okay, well, let's go to the surplus lines. Let's go figure out what's going on. Go to Lloyd's, figure this out. And it's like, oh yeah, we can insure it. No problem. $40,000. It's like, whoa, very different number. So then we go back to Citizens and we're like, guys, you're insuring this thing. Like, this is crazy, because it was a stupid reason. And so eventually we worked through with Citizens to get it done. And long story short, there's just like the alternatives, they may exist in some cases, but they're just terrible options. They're like deal killing options. Like you're just not doing it. You're selling the house. You're not, you're getting rid of the building. It just doesn't make sense. And we've seen sellers, especially in the multifamily space, like just say like, I'm over this insurance issue. We're selling our stuff. We're moving to a different market where we don't have these crazy issues. Like you can't guess what your insurance is on most lower income buildings, that like workforce housing buildings. You just can't, you don't even know. We have buildings that are like $3,500 a unit per year insurance and $1,700. And it's like, well, when you're like going to buy a property, it's like, well, what is the insurance on this? And they'll like pretend to give you an insurance bid.
But they have no idea.
Dude, I wipe my ass with this. Right? Like this is like, you have no way of knowing this.
Yeah.
No way. And so it's crazy. It's crazy. And so this South Florida's insurance situation is not solved.
I was going to say, in terms of buyer and uncertainty, that's, you kind of just summed it up right there.
Yeah, it's just tons of uncertainty. Like we have buyers that come from other markets and they're like, hey, let's get like, what do you think the insurance is on this? And or what if I buy a $700,000 home? what's the insurance on this? And it's just like, hey, rule of thumb, 1%, that's $7,000 a year. It could be more, it could be less, but if you just use the $7,000 a year number, that's the way to think about it, because like it just doesn't, you just can't know. Really, you really just can't know. If you're too far east, you get certain things. If you're in a flood zone, you get certain things. If you're west, certain issues or certain benefits, right? Impact windows, no impact windows. Missing one impact window, you lose all the credits, right? No clips on, no straps on the roof, which you can't know until you get an inspector out there. You have no idea unless somebody like actually had a report and gave it to you, which no seller does. Like very few sellers will have a report that can tell you that. And so clips versus straps versus toenails, which you can't tell on these roofs until you inspect. And sometimes you can't even tell if you inspect. It's like, you're not going to, your price could be 15,000 or 7,000. Like, it's just like, how do you, like, you just don't know.
Yeah. How do you, I mean, because you have a lot of properties, like how the hell do you account for this?
So that's why there's like, we're doing one right now in Pompano. He said, we got toenails on this thing. My policy is like, I was underwriting, it's a $600,000 sale or $700,000 sale. It's like, I was underwriting X dollars. I was underwriting 7,000 and it's 12,000. And it's like, that doesn't work for him. He's just like, this doesn't work for me. And you need to retrofit the roof with straps in order to get this right. And so like, how do you do that? Well, sometimes you have to drill in from the soffit, and like they put them in. So that means you got to replace the soffits as you go through, which is insane. And then others, you can maybe send them in the attic and crawl through the roof and do it, which is like ridiculous as well. Especially in South Florida, I have a guy in there like strapping up the roof because it's all the way in the corner at the front. Like you strap every beam. And so yeah, I mean, we're like negotiating. It's like, okay, it costs, we got a quote for $3,000 to strap the roof. All right, so you're going to give us a $3,000 credit? You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to do? And every seller's like, no way, right? Every seller's like, no. And so it's like,
okay, well then have a nice day.
Yeah, you guys didn't know this. You're not sophisticated. We get it. And maybe you bought this a year ago and you said you had no problems, but today's a different world. So yeah. Oh, let's talk about Canadian developers.
Yeah, love me some Canadian developers, especially the ones that are putting up another tower in West Palm Beach. This was actually built by the same Canadian developer responsible for La Clara, the waterfront condo that sold for over $200 billion. In this case, we have Toronto-based Great Gulf, who just got the green light to build a 31-story luxury condo at 5400 North Flagler Drive. That will be replacing the Poinsettia Apartments, a two-building multifamily complex spanning 3 stories and 72 units built. This was back in 1966. So, hey, welcome to the 21st century. And obviously, with Leclerc's success behind them, this marks their second major project in the city. Larry, what do you know about Great Gulf and this latest project?
This is, like you said, welcome to the 21st century. This is another, I mean, this is what, hold on. I thought I was showing you this. Here we go. All right. Here we go. I mean, this is just a classic example of tear down the old and put up the new, right?
Yeah. Now, if you could zoom out a little, I'm just trying to picture where this is in respect to
look at these massive water views, right?
So I feel like we've been talking about stuff right along there a lot lately.
Yeah. So north of, this is pretty far north, right? This is up in
Riviera Beach.
The Manatee area. This is where the Florida Power and Light, one of the Florida Power and Light power plants are. So it's like a different thing, right? It's a little different. We talked about like homes in this area. You're past, like Northwood is here, right? Where we're seeing some redevelopment and some, call it gentrification, whatever you want to say. And then we talked about, we talked about other projects along here, but this one's kind of a little out of the way and a little tucked in there. But hey, go for it, guys.
Yeah, it was
location is a little. It's not like this prime location compared to others, right? Like we're seeing stuff. Like if you're in the the downtown, and I'll even extend that all the way up here because we got a lot of projects going on south of Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. If you're up here and if you're close to Northwood, okay, but now this project's a little bit a ways away, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a little farther than I pictured.
But what project were we talking about recently? Just north, right? Blue Heron. They got all this stuff.
Was that the Ribovich? Was that?
Yeah. All the stuff. The marina, the development right here. There's so many to name. I just can't even keep up anymore. We've talked about them all, right? We've kind of spent a bit of time up here. But there's like probably 5 or more projects, like big developments going here. And so like, I mean, this has a little bit of I think an edge because there's so much going up in this one little sector, and the marina is going to be cool. And there's going to be some resi or some retail in this area, and it'll be a little walkable too over time. But this is and that's Riviera Beach. This is West Palm Beach. So it's right on that threshold. And so I think this will be interesting. I just don't think you can beat these views. These intercoastal views are freaking sweet. We were just looking at Pompano, right? And like just zoom out.
So much wider up there.
Yeah, just like that Pompano deal we were just looking at, Ritz-Carlton. Look at this. You're looking at, right? No, hold on. This. Look at this. This is their view, intercoastal view. Like that, I mean, that's very different from this up here. It's huge. It's just huge. So I think they have that going for them. I think you have the benefit of like, yeah, I'm sure this is trading at a slightly less premium than down here, right? And so you have that. It's really close to downtown. Going to be really nice. Going to be new. The amenities are going to be great. Yep. And so 97 residences. And you get and again, it's back to this like yacht owner thing. Like maybe you don't care so much about the unit. I know a lot of yacht owners that don't care. And Dana said, I thought the Canadians were leaving and not investing here. Well, these guys are contrarians, Miss Dana.
Right.
Canadians haven't abandoned South Florida.
I was going to say, and I was thinking about what Warren Buffett was saying before, but when everybody's scared, you go bold or whatever, the nice eloquent quotes that he always has regarding when to buy and when to sell.
Yeah, totally. And again, like, I mean, so these projects take, this project probably took years to get put together, right? So I mean, these guys have been working on this for a long time and not slowing down, and they'll work through the cycle, right? This will come out in 28, right? This if they move this along well. So and it looks like they're planning on 8 slips, eight boat slips, and we'll see how big they can make those. But I would bet they have a fair amount of water rights here, and they're going to make it pretty epic. And that's another thing. It's like because these things are so big, they have way more space here to do that. Whereas like you have no room in Pompano to do that. No room at all at the Ritz-Carlton. So it's just a different thing. And this is what it goes back to. It's like, what do you want? By the way, you're not walking to the beach here. You don't have a beachside access like
one thing I've always not liked when I was living up in West Palm around there is that you got to go over the bridge to the island. You know, like I'd go to unofficially flagpole beach. You know, if you go straight ahead across.
These bridges are huge because the intercoastal is huge. So you're not really walking across these bridges if you live in the mainland, right? We've talked about this 1,000 times. Versus like Pompano or like Delray as an example is super walkable across the bridge. And so that's one unique advantage I think Delray has. Although again, the intercoastals are small, so if you're not really getting a view on the intercoastal too much, right? Compared to this. Yeah. So let's see. West Palm Beach now has over 2,000 condo units in development.
Yeah,
wow.
That's what caught my attention, according to the Real Deal, this article from about a month or so ago. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I was actually just down in West Palm Beach the other night, and like we had talked about before, I mean, it's like every single time I go down there, I feel like it's a different skyline. I mean, it's crazy just how it's all coming together. I mean, just over the past 5-6 years. And I'm sure in another year or two, we'll be saying the exact same thing about Pompano, just like, yeah, the metamorphosis that has happened over just a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's bananas. This is also interesting. A shadow from La Clara. So, these guys who built this previous building, they're in the middle of a lawsuit from the owners of La Clara over the construction quality, which has put pressure on Great Golf to deliver flawless execution this time around. The lawsuit alleges that the high-end materials were replaced with cheaper alternatives, and these are issues with common areas like cracked tiles and balcony railings. Now, if you're not familiar with new construction down here, I'll give you a little lesson. Every developer and every new building that turns over, they do a final turnover inspection, and they always find stuff. And frankly, they find a lot of stuff, right? They find a lot of stuff. And so every building is in some kind of either dispute, which is probably not, I would label that as not a lawsuit, and or it escalates to lawsuit level, right? So many of these with the developer, more so with the general contractor a lot of times, right? Or a combination of everybody, GC, developer, subcontractors, architecture firm, right? Everybody who touched this thing. And so this is very common that stuff like this happens. Usually it's not, the allegations usually aren't, you just switcheroo on us. Usually it's like, hey, this wasn't sloped right. This thing was leaking. The roof over here has leaks. And then the developer or GC should come back and fix these things. And sometimes they don't. And they disagree. And so then the lawsuit goes and they fight the lawsuit. And then they file insurance claims and then insurance pays stuff. Right. And so there's just a mix of all that happening. And that happens in most new buildings. So it's not uncommon, but I would say this is kind of interesting. Not a great.
Obviously you can't say, broadly that it's attributed to shoddy materials or shoddy work, but I mean, why the hell does it? Just because it happens? I don't know enough about these constructions.
There could be a number of reasons why they swapped out material, and it may not have been because of a cheaper solution. It may have been like, we can't get the other stuff anymore, and it wasn't being made anymore. Or it just wasn't being made, maybe, or right? Mm-hmm. Like these projects take forever, and it's like, or hey, if you want that, it's going to take 1 year for us to get it to you, or we can get you this stuff next week. And it's like, well, we can't wait a year to finish this building. Like, what are we going to do? So I think there's a lot of that. Like sourcing is like a huge part of like building these big buildings, and it doesn't always play out the way you want it to sometimes. So maybe they've had problems there. And these guys aren't the biggest developers. They're not some of the other guys, Jeff Green, Stephen Ross, right? Related, right? So like they're not these guys. And so having this kind of blemish on your record may create concerns. Now they're claiming this connection to the snowbirds from Canada is going to create a surge for this stuff. But again, there's like 2,000.
That's reach.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. Yeah,
we're Canadians. We protect our own, eh?
Yeah. So I mean, this looks really cool. I'm pro develop these condo buildings. It brings more interesting stuff to South Florida and more interesting.
As much as I've enjoyed the poinsettia towers or whatever that was built back in the mid 1960s, at some point, you just kind of have to let go.
Yeah. Amen. Right.
So what's not being let go though, evidently, property tax cuts in Florida. Yeah, you thought Ron DeSantis was bluffing, didn't you? I probably did, but just because I didn't know enough about it. Anyway, so what if your property tax bill could shrink or outright disappear within the next decade? Because Florida lawmakers just unveiled a wave of proposals that could reshape how homeowners are taxed statewide. Okay, I'm listening. Florida House just dropped multiple constitutional amendment proposals aimed at slashing property tax. These plans, led by Speaker Daniel Perez, could appear on the 2026 ballot and give voters the power to decide how far these cuts should go. So there you have it, Larry. You've been going on and on about all this property tax. I can't take it anymore. Well, you know what? looks like their days may be numbered. Who knows? Wow. I just, from the beginning, I was concerned this wouldn't even be feasible. But speaking for the voice of ignorance here, I didn't know enough about it. Yeah, this is Florida homeowners pay an average of $2,338 in property taxes per year. So for properties with the homestead exemption, the tax savings range between $800 and $1,500 annually. Okay.
I'm going to pull up an example here so people can see what we're talking about. So there's a bunch of different proposals, right? Or ideas, and let's talk about them and riff on them. I haven't gone through all of them, so we're going to do this all together. How about that?
All right.
Yeah. So, and maybe we'll have answers, and maybe we'll spend a little bit more time and give you a follow-up lesson on this stuff. So let's see. Representative Kevin Steele, right? Eliminate non-school homestead taxes. Let me share my screen, because I'm going to share my screen and show you kind of what they're referencing here. So non-school homestead taxes. So homestead property taxes. So there's other stuff like this is like a Boca property, right? And so this is like the general list of taxes. So they're talking about keeping school stuff and just eliminating all these other taxes, which the school stuff, actually, believe it or not, guys, if you take a look, like look at the numbers you pay for school, right? 1,000. But this one, county operating is a pretty big number, right? Boca Raton operating, whatever these things mean, you can expand it and we can get into that. But these are kind of big numbers. Keep paying for the schools, but remove everything else. Right? Yeah. Essentially removes all local government property taxes, excluding schools, for primary homeowners. And so that's great. So I think some version of this is kind of, sounds great. We'll see if in practice, if they do it, it actually works. But I think it's interesting to say, if you own your home and it's your primary residence, you should get a break. And that has been a theme that Florida's already been rolling out forever, right? It's called Save Our Homes Act that they created way back. And what does that mean? Basically here, if you look at this, if it's your primary, well, this is proposed, that's what that means. But if this is your primary residence, as an example, you might get a $50,000 exemption credit, and your taxes can't go up more than 3% in any given year. So those two things are cool. And so they've already had something that was relatively interesting. Property taxes in South Florida reset on purchase price or based on purchase. So if somebody buys a home at $1 million, but the owner, it's assessed right now at $337,000 because it's a primary residence and he's getting this credit, your taxes are going to change dramatically. You're not going to be paying this $5,836 a year taxes anymore. You're going to be paying some much larger. You're going to pay double. More than double, right? So anyway, so everybody should remember that. But this has been a theme anyway. Hey, $50,000, but the $50,000 credit was put in place 30 years ago or something longer than that. We'd have to look up this Save Our Homes Act. Actually, if you have a second, Google it. Save Our Homes Act, which kind of gave primary homeowners that tax break. But so, realistically, if you just settled this if you changed this based on inflation, this number would be massive today, right? So the savings you were getting when it was initially proposed was way bigger than what it is today. And so I think the discussion about this is valid on some level.
Oh yeah, I mean, hearing DeSantis talk about it more, it made more sense. With the surge in property value over the past couple of years. For people that didn't necessarily have any intent to move out, they're retired, living on fixed income. Now they're suddenly paying all this much more for property taxes on something that they had initially bought for a fraction of that. I'm like, well, that does kind of suck. I mean, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah. I think it's So I think it's good. And so basically, if you're an investor and you own investment property and you're renting it out, or you own a building, these things, they're not talking about that in a lot of this stuff. That's like going to remain as is, right? Which will be interesting to see if like the cities, counties jack up the price on them because of this.
Right. They're going to get their money somehow. It's
they got to continue to fund. So it's like, well, how do we do that? And so that's kind of an interesting question, but they need the money to continue paving roads and things of that nature. But that's interesting. Okay. So no, we'll move through these faster. The next representative, Monique Miller of Palm Bay, she's suggesting phase out non-school homestead again. So non-school stuff. So keep paying for the schools over the next 10 years. Okay. That sounds like reasonable too. I mean, like all this stuff sounds great. This increases the homestead exemption by $100,000 annually during the phase out period. So they're going from what I just said, $50,000 to $100,000, which, okay, helpful, net helpful, gives the government's time to figure out what the heck they're going to do with like a immediate, like versus like, hey, tomorrow we're not paying you anymore. Right. That's insane. Like that probably doesn't work on some level. So, okay. So what does Juan Carlos say? He says, he's another representative, exempts homeowners aged 65 and older from paying non-school property tax entirely. Okay. So that's his proposal. I don't know if there's any additional comments in there, but that's all we have on our notes here. And then Shane Abbott, create a new non-school homestead exemption equal to 25% of a property's assessed value after existing exemptions are applied. That's interesting. This is intended to help first-time homebuyers. Let's talk about how this works. Okay, let's read this again. Creates a new non-school homestead exemption equal to 25% of the property's assessed value after existing exemptions apply. Okay, so let's just use the basics. Like, say you have no other existing exemptions. In this property here, this is probably a bad one because this one hasn't been purchased recently, but let's just say 337,000 times 0.25, right? That's 84 grand. So basically he's saying exempt this property by 84,000. That's less interesting than wipe everything out. Right? Maybe because like if you actually do this math on like, hey, wipe out everything that's non-school, it actually might be somewhat close to that. And what's interesting, and I get why he's saying this, like this is like easy math. It's like just 25%, guys. Just do the 25% thing. And like you never have to like, we don't have to like think about anything else. And this is for homesteaded properties. So if this is your second home, you're not getting this, right? This is only for people who have a primary residence here and have that approved. And there's things you have to do to be approved. And it helps first-time home buyers, right? And I kind of get that because like a first-time home buyer is paying like a pretty big price. And so if 25% of their assessed value, so say they pay $500,000, maybe the assessed value for the taxes is 400 grand. So, 100 grand off the assessed value. Now you're only paying taxes on 300 grand versus what you might have been paying, which is like 350 grand, right? So that's kind of interesting because you're doing it on a percentage basis versus everybody gets 50 G's, right?
Yeah.
So, which I think this applies to first-time home buyers, but it probably also helps wealthier individuals. Say you have a $4 million home, you got $4 million tax exemption, and this guy got a $100,000 tax exemption. It's like, okay, how does that feel? What are your thoughts, John?
Man, you've lost me at this point. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and we know this very well because we play with this all day as realtors and investors. But there's some others. Let's see if these are if anything else is interesting. Introduces an additional $100,000 homestead exemption for property homeowners who maintain active property insurance coverage. Okay, all right. So how are you gonna? This is kind of interesting because now you gotta prove this, and now somebody's got to validate this. So you got to have staff to like validate this. Kind of sounds interesting. It's kind of like your driver's license gets revoked if you don't have car insurance, right?
Mm.
It's kind of like that.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So if you pay for home insurance, you get $100,000 deduction off of that. Expand Save Our Homes portability, allowing homeowners to transfer the full value of their capped assessed benefits. The current system limits increases in assessed value to 3%. Okay, so this is a little bit more complicated and we don't need to get into it. I'm more interested in hearing, hey, we don't need to pay property tax anymore versus like, hey, we can port it to something else, which is very helpful in general. This is very helpful for people who downsize. Now they're kind of suggesting it might help people who are upsizing a little bit. So that's interesting. Okay, let's the last one. Adjusts the Save Our Homes caps. Okay. Limits homestead tax value increases to 3% over 3 years instead of annually. Okay, that's cool. So if you live in your house longer, you're going to pay less taxes over time.
See, that would make sense.
Yep. So if you live in your house for 30, 40 years, you're paying taxes. You're paying substantially low taxes. And it's already a thing. Like you can look at an old lady who owns a house and sells it and people are like, ooh, their taxes are low. Let's go buy that house because it's got low taxes. It's like, no, that's not how it works. She's been there for 40 years and she's had this thing capped forever. And that works. So now if we cap it over 3 years instead of 1 year, that's also interesting. And that's going to save a bunch more money long-term. It doesn't help you immediately. But interesting. Oh my God, there's so many of these, John. Okay,
yeah, I know, man. This list goes on.
yeah. Limits non-homestead property increases to 15% over 3 years instead of 10%. So it's okay. Got it. All right. So this again is for like investors. This helps like cap increases. Okay, cool. But again, this isn't immediate. Okay, let's see what John Albert thinks. Requires a 2/3 vote by local government to increase property tax rates. Okay, all right, and which is different from what it is now. Allows newly married couples to combine their accumulated Save Our Homes benefits. Okay, cool. I just want you to knock off all the taxes, guys. Let's just do that.
Well, I mean, I just wonder how they're coming up with some of these ideas, you know,
some version.
Like everybody's got their own way of doing this, and I'm just like, okay, what was the conversation here? I don't know, whatever.
I think everybody. It goes back to like what I just said. If you get into the weeds on some of these, you're like, oh no, that helps the rich more than it helps the poor, right? And so it's like, but we're here to help the poor. Like that's who really needs the help, right? So it's like that way. While it sounds interesting, might not be the most interesting. Yeah. And you know, what's interesting here, moving to South Florida just said, how else are we funding the local government? It's like, we're all talking about, hey, just cut the taxes. But it's like, what the heck are we going to do?
Which is why I was so skeptical when I first heard DeSantis talking about it. I was like, wait a minute, you can't actually do this, right? I mean, this wouldn't work.
I think some version of this actually gets done. And I think it ends up being like very, watered down. Move to South Florida. Like I just think it's like, okay, we're gonna do some percentage of assessed value, or we're gonna do like, hey, instead of, which is why the 50 grand is interesting. It helps the lower income people, but the higher income people or the people who are buying massive houses, they still get 50 grand. So it's like, it helps the poorer people, doesn't help the wealthy people as much. And maybe that's okay. It would be, you know, it would be nice for people who are making $1 million, who own $1 million home, that they got, you know, 100 grand versus 50 grand, or a percentage. But I think the goal here is to help the people who need it, which is the poorer people, poorer people, not poor people.
Right.
And so maybe just setting it at, I think there's a good chance the exemption amount just gets increased, right? From 50 to like some other number. But by the way, solution. I'm pretty sure if you do this math on inflation on the $50,000 and you look at it, it's way more than $100,000. It's right. It's I would bet the value of the dollar has been halved in the time that this thing was created or more, right? So it's more than 100 grand. But anyway, all right. Let's move on so we finish.
Okay, I was going to say, you know,
you're exhausted. You're exhausted. I can tell.
That was a lot. That was a lot to take in. You know, it was a
lot for me to say.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Marky Mark.
Old Marky Mark bought a $37 million mansion in Delray Beach called Palazzo di Lago. That's when you know it's a nice house, when it has its own name to the estate. This is in Billionaires Row, and we're talking about an 18,000 square foot estate in the gated community of Stone Creek Ranch, which is, for people who aren't aware, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in all of Palm Beach County, because that's how Marky Mark rolls. This new home comes with every imaginable feature: a resort-style saltwater pool, private tennis court, gym, wine cellar, and even a hidden cigar lounge. Because we don't want to just show that off to anybody. But the story here goes beyond luxury real estate. Because Wahlberg had bought the home for $37 million from spec developer Aldo Stark. He flipped it after purchasing it for $26 million earlier this year. Now, bear in mind, it was also originally listed for $45 million. So I guess Mark was able to talk him down a little bit. Yeah, this is nice. 3 acres, 7 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms, and a 7-car garage. I don't know if that's going to be enough.
I can't imagine negotiating with Marky Mark.
No. Which, if you didn't know, Wahlberg is a total fitness junkie, so clearly blown away by the home's wellness setup. Full-on gym, sauna, massage room that opens up to the tennis court. And as mentioned, the massive saltwater lagoon pool holding, I love how we have it all here, the 170,000 gallons of crystal clear water. Well. This move follows Wahlberg's sale of his Beverly Hills mansion. He sold it to Paris Hilton for $63 million. So celebrities helping celebrities, part of a larger trend of celebrities and executives trading California's chaos for Florida's calm and tax advantages.
Yeah.
Well, for now, I mean, who knows what happens to the property taxes, right? But anyway, so it's good to know. Another celebrity making his way to South Florida and Palm Beach County. Are we going to talk about the other early 90s rapper?
Oh yeah, but hold on, I want to show.
I didn't know if you were going to share his home or not.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. I just wanted to pull up so you could see. Now it's up. I got it. It's took me a minute here. Here we go. All right, so let's just take a look at like the values in this. This is the neighborhood for anybody who's curious, and it's all the way west, which is super interesting to me. I get it, but I don't get it.
And I've been exclusivity.
We've worked in this community before. I've been in some of these homes. They're huge. They're gorgeous. It's super epic. It's a really well-known neighborhood. This is the neighborhood. There are very few that have the same clout.
I was going to say, I mean, Mike Tyson bought one pretty recently. I don't know if it was in Stone Creek, but I know it was Delray Beach, and it was away from the beach.
Yeah. So this is so again, it's just like it's very interesting. The way I think about South Florida is like, and a lot of people I think is like oceanfront is the best location, like
right.
Arguably the most value. You can debate like whether you know upkeep and all the other things, hurricanes, whatever, but like that's it. And then everything west of there is like less interesting, right? And so that's not like that was that was my initial thinking before I got into real estate. But there are locations and pockets that are like this, right? And so there's the cheapest home recently in the past year that sold in here is $27 million, just for context. So and the most expensive 50, right? And so he paid 37, which is he bought this one, 37 million. So he's nowhere near the most expensive home in the neighborhood. And so he closed in October.
He's modest like that. He's very humble.
Yeah, very humble, very modest. He paid $2,079 a foot, which to me isn't a crazy number. There's plenty of stuff.
You were just talking about some of that stuff with Pompano that they were all 1,800 a square foot, right?
Right. So if you're looking at it per foot, you're like, that's like not crazy, right? 7 bedrooms, 10 baths, 7-car garage, almost 18,000 square feet, 2017 build. So not brand new, guys. Not brand new, but new, and obviously incredible. It is on look at this thing.
Yeah, that's nice.
Look at this thing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, the space in this home is just bananas. Look at the stone. The stone wall is you know how many pieces of stone that is? How many slabs? Holy smokes. Look at this, the slabs up there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is all right. Nice wine room. I want to see this cigar
Not to
bar.
be confused with the hidden cigar room. You can't see it though because it's hidden.
That's cool. Look at that. That's kind of cool. Concrete.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, this thing's epic. Super cool. And this guy, the previous guy flipped it, which is just a whole nother, like.
Yeah, because I'm sure it was a dump before that.
Yeah, totally. Wow. I mean, look at this thing. Well, so here's the thing. If you want epic space, this neighborhood can give it to you. Yeah, you got to go west on some level, or you're going to spend $100 million. Like, you're not getting 18,000 square foot homes in Royal Palm Yacht and Country Club. You're just not getting it. And then you would literally need to knock down 4 lots to get to this, to get anywhere near this in like a Royal Palm Yacht and Country Club, which is a community that's right by the water, very east. So if you want space, if you want this like seclusion, and you don't care about like being super close to downtown, well, then this is pretty sweet. So, and the level of security in this community is next level. I mean, this is next level type stuff. So yeah.
It's interesting. Just kind of store this one away. Initially, after Wahlberg had sold his estate to Paris Hilton, he moved his family to Las Vegas in hopes of giving his kids a better quality of life, even backing plans for a $1.8 billion movie studio there. Obviously, he's shifted gears and coming here. Weren't we just talking about a new movie studio last week?
Oh, yeah, we were. That's right. Okay.
I'm just saying, I mean, it's a coincidence, maybe, but it's just something to keep in mind. Who knows?
Maybe.
I mean, if you said 25 years ago that Mark Wahlberg was doing something with Napster, I mean, it wouldn't sound so crazy. Now it's like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. So anyway, hey, speaking of early 90s white rappers, who couldn't forget about Vanilla Ice? I mean, God, we were talking about him with this project a couple years ago. So Vanilla Ice, or also known as Robert Van Winkle, he hasn't given up on this project yet. This was in downtown Lake Worth Beach. Still plans on giving life to a near century-old building, transforming it into a 14,000 square foot brewery with a rooftop bar, outdoor venue, and to top it all off, a Ninja Turtles museum. Tugging at my heartstrings. What can I say? Dude, I can remember seeing the second one in theater, like for a birthday party, and he's singing ninja rap. Officially crowding himself as a total sellout. But you know what? Maybe it was an investment in its own right, because now everybody remembers it. Anyway, so when Vanilla Ice first announced the project, few realized how much work would actually go into this, considering it's a historic landmark that had been vacant and exposed to the elements for God knows how long. Once the Gulfstream Lodge Scottish Rite Cathedral. I didn't know that. Anyway, but the brewery sits at 1000 Lake Ave. It's right across from City Hall. This was back in the 1920s when it was built. Anyway, so Vanilla Ice has been, I know he does a number of different things, so I'm sure it probably got put on the back burner. But yeah, the Stone Cold Brewery, I recall that was the original name. As far as I know, it's still happening. There are new TikToks from Vanilla Ice showing off what's the progress of it. I don't know if you've seen it. Oh, here we go. So yeah, he's back to work.
So funny. I feel like the last time we talked about this was like at least a year ago, maybe more.
Oh yeah. I mean,
it looked like it looks similar. I know he's making progress here, and this is cool, and this is great. And by the way, I'm super pro what he's doing. It's just,
no, I think I'll go see it.
Yeah, 100%. This is great. I mean, this is, and he's really invested in Lake Worth, which is such, in my opinion, like for him it's like such a random place for him to just pop up, but This is his spot. This is his place. Let's go. Yeah.
So anyway, word to your mother, Larry.
Well, this is what it is. He was a longtime Palm Beach resident, and he was into it. And he was into the home renovation thing. So he's honoring history, which is cool.
That is cool.
And yeah, like you said, it was built in 1920s. And so And so, sorry, jumping back here. I mean, this is in a prime. This is kind of like prime.
I mean, it's right in the heart of downtown Lake Worth Beach, no question.
Yeah, it's a cool location. It'll get traction. It'll do well. By the way, right next to one of the big live local projects, right here that just went up. So right along the train tracks, right? So this area is being transformed. What once was, old warehouses are becoming cool projects, whether it be like a big developer building these things or stuff that's just being reinvented, like our boy Vanilla Ice is doing, which is cool. And there's a number so Lake Worth is unique for a number of reasons, and it'll continue to grow and expand. It's different. It has different advantages and different downsides, just like every one of the cities we talk about. One of, I think, the advantages is there's just a ton of residential around this to support it, and if they build it well, it will be a hopping spot, right? The downtown could be really cool. The depth between the two roads, so you just have a lot of stuff you can put here that could be awesome. The problem is you have a lot of stuff you need to put here, right?
Yeah.
So Nick Murtha is saying, how unique is Lake Worth? Like on a scale of 1 to 10. Well, Nick, I'd say a 7. 7. I'm going to answer that for you right now. I'd say a 7. Yeah. You have places like Delray, and what I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff to redevelop, which is a positive and negative. It's like there's a lot of work to do to get momentum here to change things. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So.
All right, we calling it?
Yeah, we're calling it because Nick is getting too curious. He's getting way too out of hand, and we're not answering your questions, Nick. That's what it comes down to.
All right. Well, on behalf of Larry Mastropieri, broker owner of the Mastropieri Group, I'm John Laws of Discover South Florida. Just want to thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you hopefully Wednesday of next week, so you don't have to wait as long. We'll see you then.
See you then, guys, and shout out to Rotem and Nick.